Engines roared through Willow Creek like thunder breaking glass. 4 bikers raced down Main Street, their shadows chasing them across the hot pavement. Then, just as the noise hit its peak, Jackson Reed hit the brakes. Something didn't feel right. A tiny shape stood ahead on the curb. A little girl, maybe 6, waving both arms as if trying to stop a storm. He pulled up, gravel crunching under the tires. The girl's voice trembled but didn't break. "Please, buy my doll, sir." Jackson cut the engine. The other 3, Hawk, Bear, and Diesel, followed. The sudden silence made the moment heavier. The girl's dress was too neat for her scuffed shoes. In her hands she held a ragged doll with one button eye and a bent tag that read, "For sale." Next to her, another child sat on the sidewalk, coughing softly. Twin faces, one pale, one pleading. Jackson climbed off the bike. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Ella." She clutched the doll closer. "My sister's Emma. She's sick. Mommy says she needs medicine, but Mommy's not here anymore." The words struck harder than the heat. Jackson crouched so he could meet her eyes. "Where's your mom, Ella?" Ella hesitated. "Daddy said she's being punished. He told us to go away until she learns." Her voice cracked. "But she's been gone 2 days. Emma's getting worse." Bear swore under his breath. Hawk looked away. Jackson swallowed the anger, tightening his chest. "You girls eaten?" Ella shook her head. "Mommy said not to take food from strangers." "Well," Jackson said quietly, "maybe we're not strangers now." They took the girls to the diner at the corner of Maple Street. Locals stared, unsure what to make of 4 bikers and 2 frightened children sharing a booth. Emma barely touched the soup. Her head rested against her sister's shoulder. Between small bites, Ella told them more. Her mother's name was Grace Dalton. Their father, Rick, owned a small house near the forest. Road. He used to smile a lot, until something broke inside him. One night, after yelling that nobody listened, he locked Grace in the basement. Then he shoved the twins out the front door and told them not to come back. The bikers listened in silence. Jackson's jaw tightened until it hurt. He'd seen that kind of fear before in his mother's eyes, years ago. He thought he'd buried those memories under miles of asphalt. After the girls ate, he paid the bill and led them to the Iron Shadows garage on the edge of town. It wasn't much, just an old repair shop turned clubhouse, but it was safe. Hawk fetched blankets. Bear found a doctor friend to check Emma's fever. Diesel made cocoa that steamed like kindness in paper cups. That night, while the twins slept on a couch, Jackson stood outside beneath the humming streetlight. The moon glinted off the bikes, like quiet witnesses. "We can't leave it like this," he said. Bear crossed his arms. "You thinking what I'm thinking? I'm thinking there's a woman locked in a basement while her kids sell toys for medicine." No one argued. The engines fired before dawn. They followed the narrow gravel road until the Dalton farmhouse appeared through a line of trees. Paint peeled from the porch, weeds climbed the fence. One upstairs light still burned, dim and sour. Jackson knocked. The door opened to a man with half-lidded eyes and a half-empty bottle. Rick Dalton's voice slurred. "You lost, tough guy." "We're looking for Grace." Rick snorted. "She left. Women do that when they realize what they are." He moved to close the door, but Jackson planted a hand against it. The sound came then, a faint, hollow pounding, somewhere beneath the floor. Jackson's voice dropped. "What's that?" Rick froze. "Basement rats." "Funny," Hawk said, stepping forward. "Sounds like a heartbeat." Rick tried to block them, but Diesel was already moving around back. The others pushed inside. The house reeked of neglect, cheap beer, stale air, fear. Bear found the door to the basement padlocked. Without a word, he snapped the hinge with a wrench. The smell of damp concrete rolled out. A whisper followed. "Please, help me." Grace Dalton sat against the far wall, wrists bruised, hair tangled, eyes squinting against the sudden light. For a second she didn't believe they were real. When Jackson crouched beside her, she flinched. "It's okay," he said softly. "We're friends. Ella and Emma are safe." Her eyes widened. "My girls? They're waiting for you." The sob that left her was half pain, half relief. Jackson handed her his jacket. "We're getting you out." Behind him, Hawk had already called the sheriff's office. Rick shouted from the kitchen, demanding they leave, but no one answered him. When the deputies arrived 20 minutes later, they found Rick pacing in circles, fury spilling from every word. Grace didn't look back, as she stepped into the daylight. The morning sun hit her face, and she gasped as if remembering what warmth felt like. At the hospital, the nurses said she'd be fine, weak, dehydrated, but alive. The twins were waiting in a small room down the hall. When Grace saw them, she fell to her knees. The girls ran into her arms, sobbing. "I thought I lost you," she whispered. Ella pulled something from her pocket, the doll, its single eye glinting in the light. "We didn't sell her, Mommy. We were just trying to help." Grace pressed it to her chest. "You already did." From the hallway window, Jackson watched the reunion. His brothers stood beside him, silent. Hawk wiped his eyes when he thought no one saw. "Guess that's that," Diesel murmured. Jackson nodded, but his expression didn't soften. "That man'll spend a long time thinking about what he did. I just hope she never forgets what she survived." They left quietly. Outside, the engines growled back to life. The sound rolled across Willow Creek again, but this time no one hid behind curtains. People stepped out to watch, uncertain but curious, as 4 bikers rode away from the hospital, sunlight chasing their shadows down the road. 2 weeks passed. Grace and the twins moved into a small apartment above the bakery. Sometimes they'd hear the motorcycles in the distance, fading like thunder moving toward another storm. One afternoon, Jackson returned alone. He found the twins drawing chalk hearts on the sidewalk. Grace stood by the door, thinner but smiling. "I didn't know how to thank you," she said. "You just did," he answered. She looked at the doll. Now repaired, Hawk had sewn a new button eye. "They tell me you fixed her. Didn't seem right leaving her half blind." Grace laughed softly, but it ended in tears. "You know, people used to cross the street when they heard bikes. They thought it meant trouble. Sometimes it still does," Jackson said, starting his engine. "Just not for the ones who deserve peace." He rode off, dust swirling behind the rear wheel. That night, the twins placed the doll on their windowsill. From the road below, headlights flickered once like a promise kept and vanished into the dark. The story spread through Willow Creek. No one knew exactly what happened at the Dalton house. The sheriff called it an act of civic decency. But in diners and gas stations, people whispered about the iron shadows, the bikers who found the locked door, the ones who saved a mother because 2 children believed someone would listen. Jackson never talked about it again. On long rides, though, when the road stretched empty and the wind hissed against his helmet, he sometimes saw a flash of white ribbon in the distance and thought of the twins. Maybe kindness was like that, quick, fragile, easy to miss unless you looked for it. Weeks later, a letter arrived at the garage. No return address, just careful handwriting. "Thank you for giving us back our light." Inside was the doll's old eye, stitched onto a patch shaped like a heart. Jackson pinned it to the clubhouse wall. No speeches, no ceremony, just quiet respect. He stared at it a long time before whispering, "Ride safe, little angels." Then he turned off the light. If this story has touched your heart, take a moment, pause whatever you're doing, and think about the doors still locked around you. Someone might be waiting behind one, hoping for a stranger's courage. Share this story, leave a comment, and subscribe to remind the world that help doesn't always come wearing a halo. Sometimes it comes wearing leather and the will to do what's right. Because kindness, real kindness, isn't soft, it's brave, and it rides on 2 wheels.